Welcome back to our Monday Lives. We had a few weeks off and very, very pleased to be back. First one back since the Masters, which I might have been at. And this silly grin will be in here all evening because I'm feeling very happy about where I was. I wasn't going to say smug, but yeah, a little bit smug. But yeah, so we'll start with that simply because first major of the year and Rory going back to back.
Yeah, it's quite incredible.
Quite
incredible. I mean, I did kind of think that he might do really well. I'm not sure I thought he would win it again, but like, can you imagine like 10 or 11 years of that stress every single year, and then suddenly you turn up and go, job done, I've done it. Like,
I thought with the having to pull out the players, having a few weeks off, I just didn't think he'd be ready for it. But then when he was talking about the practice it had had, and I don't think it was unfair. Actually, some of the players have come out and said they have the chances to go there basically as regularly, but they might just not have a private jet they can.
Of course, he was going backwards and forwards.
But I thought having not had that tournament build-up, whether that was going to affect him or not. But I think it was his press conference at the beginning of the week where he said, I actually don't care whether the tournament starts or not. I'm just really kind of happy to be here as defending champion. And obviously he cared when it started, but I watched his short game warm up on the Thursday morning. I've never seen anyone control a golf ball that
really?
well.
Wow.
He made even Lowry look, I'm not going to say second rate, but it wasn't as good. And just the contact, crispness of contact and the strike and the spin and the flight. I
do feel like his chipping and pitching is sort of underrated. I've never really rated him as like a half, three-quarter, full wedge player. But there's some shots. Remember that shot he hit at the Ryder Cup with the downhill line, the nipper? You just go, oh my,
the one where
shots like that.
Fitzpatrick, who we'll come on to, giggled at the side of the green.
Yeah, just literally coming out this low and then stopped within 15 feet. It's just quite incredible.
But that was possibly one of the most impressive things I saw all week. Was that 20 minutes or so short game practice.
Yeah, well. What did you think about the 5-shot lead, still hitting lots of driver?
I think the 5-shot lead was, I didn't see him extending it like at Kiowa when he just went off and ran off in the distance because his long game wasn't good enough.
And everybody played really well on the Saturday.
Everyone could free it up and go.
Lots of big scores, or low scores even, you know what I mean? Lots of really good scores.
And that was his bad round of the week. And I think he was getting away with the positions he was putting himself into, like on 17, on the second round, we'd followed Rosie in the morning, we're with him the last 4 or 5 holes when he went on that run. And he was in the trees on the left and had a sight through that had the shot to the right side of the green that gave him the space to make the chip. So he's getting those kind of breaks, but then went and chipped in. So he was getting the breaks, but then making the most of them. Saturday sort of caught up with them a bit, and the others could freewheel it, and then Sunday was Sunday.
But part of me was just thinking, I think it was the Saturday, I was sat there watching, just pull out a 3-wood, just get something like in play. But I guess he was so capable at carrying a lot of the bunkers, which are like 305, 310 carry. And you kind of go, well, if you can fly it, if you're in the rough, like it's fine. But I was kind of just thinking, like, just get a couple in the fairway and like settle yourself into it.
I think with how the course was playing, it did soften off from Thursday. Like Thursday, the thing that struck me with the course was how small the greens are. So 15 isn't deep. The left side of 15 is narrow. Like 7's tiny as a green. So actually being closer. So on the Thursday, he'd hit driver up 17 and hit one in play. And he was up the top of the slope with like a flip of a sandwich. Which didn't see anyone close to that pretty much all week. And so he had that advantage, but the fairways are narrow. Or some of them are, 7, 17, 14's not that wide, but the drive on the second is actually quite narrow until you get around the corner. So I think if you're further up, then you've got a better chance of getting around the green in 2. And,
I guess with the slopes as well, if you're going to go with the wedge, you can kind of control your landing spot a little bit better, can't you? So I guess if you're on with driver, you can put a good score together. But it's just when it was like, he just looked a bit nervy and I was like, just get something in play. But,
And it was interesting walking out, because we did, very lucky, we did all 4 days and did all 4 days. Saturday walking out, seeing him as the only one on the range, kind of told me something about where he was at with his game. And if he can just get it in play, he was not going to be beaten if he could get the driver in play.
True. I watched he's got that thing on documentary, and he talks about last year's Masters, And there's this lovely moment where obviously he's like got into a playoff because he bogeyed 18.
Yeah.
And his caddy said to him, "You would have taken my right arm off if I said by the end of the week you can be in a playoff." And he was like, "Oh yeah, okay, cool." And just kind of settled him down and absolutely, almost hold it on
different on 18 this week.
Yeah,
this
yeah,
year,
a little bit different.
We were by the 18th tee, and that was. I think he made a point if he's going to miss, put it on the 10th fairway.
Yeah,
because he had a swing. He just whether he'd have a swing or not, but a load of trees were blown down in the hurricane that went through, so there was space out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was so wide.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite rare that you see someone like that hit it that far off. Do you know what I mean?
But he went for it. He went give it 10-0.
Yeah.
I mean, that was wherever it was going a long way.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. But no, it was a epic week, and if you've ever even thought about going, it's a must. The lack of phones in there was fabulous. Just everyone's in the golf, not looking at the phone when you hear a cheer. Who's that? You're looking at the scoreboards, and there was so much kind of general goodwill and chat, and it's awesome. Best golf tournament that you can go to, I think.
Yeah, trip of a lifetime, that, isn't it? Bucket list stuff.
Bucket list stuff.
Yeah, very, very jealous.
Mr. Fitzpatrick in playoff this week, this weekend just gone. He's been playing well all year, just trending all year, and was sort of doing pretty well at Augusta as well for a while. But that was a heck of a second shot in the playoff.
Yeah.
To Scheffler's that was like 50 yards off.
Yeah. I mean, also to beat Scheffler as well, that's pretty cool, isn't it? Because, Fitzy's not the longest. Rory's put on more yardage in the last 2 years, hasn't he, really? He's done a lot of speed work. But you kind of think, like, for someone like him, I'm pretty sure maybe 5 years ago, he was probably only driving it 280, something like that. It wasn't long.
He wasn't that long, but he put a lot of speed on.
And you just think, like, for him to be able to beat Scheffler in the playoff must be a huge confidence boost for him.
Yeah.
Huge confidence boost. Unbelievable.
And wide to wire.
True.
To do, which is so hard to do. I mean, just look at Rory at the Masters. He couldn't do it.
Yeah.
To kind of lead from start to finish was really very impressive. I think Harbour Town's a fun course to watch because it's not just smash and grab course. I like to see them have to place it, and it's a fun course to watch. I don't think that many of them like. I think they do enjoy playing it, but I remember Rory saying he didn't like he had to hit 2 irons.
Yeah. But again, was it Gary Player that said at the Masters he wants to see the ball roll back 60 yards or something like that?
I don't think it needs to. I mean,
it doesn't need to be 60.
It was interesting when we're looking at where with tees were further back on 15 and 13 at Augusta, and Rory still hit an 8 iron in on 13 on Sunday. Yeah, because he got one right. Now he's an exception, but they're still getting there in 2 with irons on 15. So. True. Does it have to go back much? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'd like to see mishits punished more. I think that for me is the thing. It doesn't need to get shorter, maybe not. But if someone doesn't strike it well or doesn't square the face up, let's see it go further offline. Yeah. I think that's for me what I'd like
that's interesting. That's interesting. That makes sense. Yeah. Makes sense.
Right. Cool. Let's get on to the questions. And so anything coaching-wise, obviously Lewis, one of our resident coaches here, anything technique, coaching-wise, Lewis is here to answer those, and I'll do the equipment stuff. So thanks for all the questions already in. We'll start at the top. JBill8802, evening Simon, looking for shaft recommendations for testing in the 60 to 65 gram range that will be similar in feel and profile to a Hazardous Smoke Red. So Hazardous Smoke Red is... it's a little bit of upper mid balance, but softer tip. So I would say, if you're looking at kind of, it's not counterbalanced. If it's the RDX Smoke Red, but it's sort of upper mid, softer tip. So I would say, I mean, things like the VA Composites, the Nemesis is a little higher balance. That's a bit too counterbalanced. Thinking through some of depending on where you want to go on pricing, some of the TPTs, the high series, would give that. So there's a 60, 67, 63 gram. I'll have to double check the numbers on them. I think it's the 16 to 17 or the 17 and 18 in that weight range. The TPT highs would give you that and a really smooth feel. The Graphite design, the IZ in the 6, that's not quite as high a balance, but it gives you the softer tip profile. And let me think, let me give you one more. Fuji, the Speeder NX in the purple, that gives that softer tip as well, and a similar balance point in the 60. They're tend to be that's a higher end shaft as well, but those would give alternatives for you there. Matt Wyatt 3277. Any news of the GTS Titleist range becoming available for fitting and retail? Wife has stolen my 7-wood. Naughty. So I need to replace it. So either replace or wait if they're imminent. Appreciate it. So I can't give you the exact date yet. We have been told when we'll be able to fit from, but all I can give you is mid-May. I don't think it'll be too long. I think it's another week or so till we can give the exact dates, as far as I understand. But yeah, it's a few weeks out. Mid-May we'll be able to give a bit more information, a little bit more before that, but realistically not too far away. So potentially wait. We have seen them, and yeah, there's some interesting stuff there. So I would kind of hold on. If you're interested in them, then hold on a little bit and you'll be able to test them.
Did you have a chance to see any at the Masters, or were you there more as like a?
I was there
spectator,
as a fan and spectator, but they were all in them basically. There were an awful lot who were in them at the Masters, and that's sort of one of the big things was them to have a lot of play there. The tour players have gone straight into them. So that says an awful lot. GT is really good. GTS is certainly there are some performance progressions that have been made. Obviously, I was been able to see the images online where there are multiple weights, and that does add some versatility for sure.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
I didn't see anything particularly funky in bags, but I wasn't because there was no coverage. I wasn't able to actually you couldn't. We were in there at 7 a.m. and left at about 7 p.m. So it was knackered to watch any of the coverage. So we couldn't actually see. It was more what we were seeing visibly in there. And what was nice was bumping into Lottie Wode. Saw her and said hi to her from Mark, who used to fit her as well, and had a brief chat with Sir Nick.
Sir Nick.
Managed to get in for the ceremonial tee shot and had a very brief chat to him.
Oh, cool.
A couple of words with him. He's a very large man.
I was going to say he's a big guy, isn't he?
Very
big
large
guy.
man. And what is cool, saw Rafa Nadal there as well.
Oh, that's cool.
So for celebs, because there are no phones, no one's clicking around taking photos of them. So actually, it's probably one of the best places if you're a celeb to go and watch golf, because yes, someone might come up to you and say hi, but they're not taking a video or footage, as long as that's tournament days, because you can take your phone in on practice days.
Right.
But they're all big.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You're 6'2", so there are a lot that are your height that you wouldn't expect to be, like Højgaard, for example.
Oh, really?
Is actually not, hits it a long way, but there's actually much bigger, they're all bigger men than you'd expect them to be, apart from a Gary Woodland or a Scheffler are massissive, but they're all big men.
I thought, I remember seeing Rory at Wentworth like years ago at the BMW. I remember he was just, I thought he's so short, he's so small. Yeah. But then you just see his ball flight and you go, how?
He's deep.
He's bulked up. Yeah.
Quite. So he doesn't look, he's not tall, a bit like Scheffler, isn't tall, but he's a ball of muscle. And guys like Sepp Straka and Lowry are trimmed down. They definitely started to work more on their fitness for sure. But they're surprisingly tall.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I guess look on TV.
So JBill 8802, second one. Can adding lead tape to a driver head and increasing swing weight have an influence on strike location? As always, thanks for your help. So the answer is yes, it can. It's going to affect the timing and delivery of the club head. If you're talking about putting it heel and toe to affect CG location, realistically, it's not going to make much of a difference. You've got to put a lot of weight on to really move CG to a noticeable point, CG center of gravity, which is why in a lot of the heads now, it's you're moving away from all the way from heel to toe rather than sort of a small slide on it. But changing the balance of the club will affect your delivery and could affect whether you're striking heel or toe. If the balance is off, it's going to negatively affect your strike and control the club face. The better the balance is, the more likely you are to find a consistent spot on the head. So that's where realistically it can affect it for you.
I found that with my clubs. I've been heel for the last year and a half. Yeah. And with these, I've gone more towards the toe, but not like a bad toe. Yeah. But it's totally changed it. Yeah. And I haven't really changed the way I'm swinging it.
Because the shaft weight came down.
Yeah. Shaft weight came down, and I don't know what the swing weight was. Matt would know that. But quite incredible the difference. Like I haven't hit one thin or heely shot since I've had them, but I've hit two which are a bit flirting with a bit fat, but not the end of the world. Whereas I've been like on a bad day, no divot, really clippy, really kind of heely. So it makes such a difference. Quite incredible.
Yeah, and say I think it's about a 10 gram shift in shaft weight that you've made, and that's 5 grams is noticeable.
Yeah.
So you think you're going from 0 for you to a 6 iron to kind of 92 odd miles an hour in fraction of a second, half a second. So that massive acceleration build up.
Yeah.
We've got several hinges, so ankle, knees, hips to kind of move posture around, and if you and the club get out of sync, then you come out of balance, and that's when all this sort of low point variables, sliding, the losing the ability to control the low point in the club face. That's when that all kicks in, and then hands and compensations come in to make up for it, which as humans we're very good at doing.
Yeah, all of those things.
Unfortunately, we're good at doing. I guess fortunately we're good at doing. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in a job because no one would have a club that they couldn't use.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we're very good at finding a way, but that can eat into your technique and eat into your consistency, and then it's just a longer journey back at the end of it.
Yeah.
So,
True.
Yeah. Stephen Ford 89. Hi guys, playing a G440 LST with a Denali Red 6.060 shaft. My miss is an overdraw or snap hook. Looking at the Ventus range, I was wondering what one would you suggest to help missing left? Now, there are a couple of reasons why you could miss left. Shaft flex isn't one of them because it doesn't kick the toe over. So depending on the length setup and the swing weight setup, if it's long and heavy, the club can get, it's kind of what we were discussing actually just then with Lewis, the club can get, I'm going to leave a head cover on just to exaggerate with this, the club can get behind you, so as you start down, it can get in here, and then you've got to play fetch and flip, which can catapult it over. There are technique issues as well, or if it's light, then you can whip the toe around because you're overpowering the head weight. So there are two very different reasons why you can have a hook with a golf club. Unfortunately, I can't tell you which one it is. So the Ventus are a great range of shafts, they're structurally very stable, they're great quality materials, but the quality of the shaft from a structural point of view doesn't necessarily stop you hitting a hook. You could take the most expensive materials in the world and still hit a hook with them if the shaft is ill-suited. So unfortunately, I don't know what the fix is for you. The only way I could give you an answer worth having is actually by seeing you and testing and going, okay, right, this is better for you because, because too light, too heavy, wrong balance point, wrong dead weight, too long. That can all of them can contribute to a flip on a hook. Yeah. But I'd be lying if I said I knew exactly which one it is, I'm afraid. So, got a load of questions through. Right, El Biniak. Hello, Simon. What upcharge shaft would be similar to the stock Ventus 7X in the Callaway Quantum line? Well, a more stable version would be the actual Ventus 7X. Now, it's the charcoal and the current Callaway, so the black would be the most similar. But if you didn't want to, it's a deer shaft, so if you didn't want to pay quite as much as a 350 odd pound upgrade, then you're looking at 77 grams. I would say something like, the Oban, the Devotion 7 is a really good value shaft at that kind of weight and tip stability. So that's going to be, if you're in the UK, kind of around the 170, 175 pound mark to install. If that's in dollars, it's going to be about a couple of hundred, maybe slightly more. And there are going to be several shafts in that kind of weight category. So you could take Acra, the TZ Red 7S, so they do a fairway version, which is a similar kind of weight as well. So there are actually plenty of shafts, but that 77 gram tip stable, low spin, obviously the most similar is going to be the full fat Ventus, but say something like the Devotion 7 is a good alternative. Zebby Rogan, good to see the lives back. Thank you very much indeed. One for Lewis here. Cool. KP6344. Hi both. I keep pushing putts, especially when within 5 to 10 foot. Any drills / ideas?
The push is the toe isn't releasing. One quite counterintuitive way that people push putts, and I've had this, is that, if you imagine every golf club wants to have some form of rotation to it, and I struggled in the past with pushing short putts because I would actually take it back too closed. Like my right arm would basically do this on the way back, So on the way through, if I release it, I'm going to hit a dead pull.
Yeah.
So naturally, you'll start to, lift the handle, push the hands out to the right to try and avoid pulling it. Because when I would pull it, and it sounds like you might have a similar problem, when I would pull it, even from 6 feet, I could hit it 4 foot long left, which I hated. So I think sometimes it's like, it's not necessarily because the toe isn't releasing, but you might not be allowing it to open enough on the way back. And I played with a guy today, a lovely putting stroke, but he almost set up, like I used to think Tiger back in the day would almost set up with the blade a little open. And then he'd have this like lovely kind of flowing motion through the ball. But maybe if you're pushing it consistently, if you take the putter back a little too this way, you'll want to try and hold it off through the putt. And that can be a really common way.
But I think a lot of that is, a lot of players want to try and go square to square.
Yeah.
And actually, taking it back straight with no face rotation goes against the physics of your setup. If you've got any form of spine angle, tilt there, then there has to be a bit of an arc.
Yeah.
So actually the whole square back, square through isn't actually doable without manipulating and, as you say, kind of closing and opening.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you what would help. You can get these Visio putting templates. You've ever seen those? And they have a line of like an arc of a stroke. So it's a putting template like this, and they've got a line in the middle that does that. And then there's perpendicular lines to that arc as to where your face wants to be. And I'm pretty sure, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure you can get different templates. So you get some which are more art, some which are less art, all which they all have arc. But maybe getting one of those and just basically trying to match up the perpendicular lines on the way back might give you the inclination, the clue as to whether you're too shut or you're square, but there's another problem. That might help.
There are several things that a putter setup could do. But again, that gets back into the, I don't know what you use and how your stroke is. So, but normally, too much toe hang can make it harder to square the face. So you tend to take toe hang away. So go, double bend, / sort of face balanced, or something like take the labs, the torque balance that removes any resistance to squaring the face up. I pull mine if I'm going to miss, so I have toe hang because it opens the face a bit more as I end the swing, and then I can square it off against it. So I'm trying to avoid a pull, so I go toe hang, and if someone's trying to avoid a push, quite often face balanced or torque balance can be a good answer to that.
Hope that helps.
Simon Muggleton 4688. Hi Simon, feeling my C6 red driver shaft stiff is becoming a touch loose. If I wanted to keep spin and launch the same but wanted a more solid feel, what is out there to try? So the C6, if it's the 50, it's like a 58 gram. If it's the 60, it's sort of 66. But I would say from a balance point, they sit a little bit upper mid. So you don't want to go something too tip heavy, but you can, structurally, there are plenty of shafts that can shore that up. So I would be thinking about, potentially one of the Acura, the GX200 series, probably play marginally more tip balance, but structurally a little bit tighter. The Mitsubishi, the Diamanas, but their weight sits slightly higher. Just think if we're trying to keep upper mid balance, I would say, it's interesting actually, for that weight category, without going counterbalanced, having a little cheeky look at the wall. The Graphite design, the CQ, keeps the balance point pretty similar. Probably doesn't shore it up quite enough. I quite like that Acura, the GX series. I think that's a lot of shaft for the money, and definitely will feel a little bit more stout in the 200 series, the 260 essentially. If it's in the 60, if it's the C6 red 60, that should give you a little bit more structure to hit against without going mad on cost as well. It's very green though, just to warn you. Papa B, hello young men. Could you, so hitting one. Could you please hit the Axiom 105 and MMT 105 and explain the differences between the two? So I'm going to very quickly, there's one for Lewis. I'm going to very quickly answer Shaco's. Can't tell you anything about them yet, but give it a couple of weeks, and we will be able to. And then I'm going to, Simon, give you Simon Muggleton's, and I'll go and grab the shafts.
Simon Muggleton 4688. Hi Lewis, I'm struggling. I'm feeling I'm swinging the grip and not feeling the club head and losing speed. Interesting. Any drills and feels to feel the release of the club head better and get more whip through the impact area? I reckon you're probably on the rarer side, because I think a lot of people are always busy trying to swing the head. So I guess Simon could probably give a fitting reply to that as well, which you'll come back in a second. But essentially, I love, when you think about release, I usually like doing one arm only drills. So I have a very, very similar problem with my chipping and pitching. I've always been a handle driver. So if you give me like a short-sided, floaty wedge shot to hit, it's like a shot which my brain can't really see because I'm constantly dragging the handle so far ahead and de-lofting it so much. So to help the release there, and I guess it's applicable to irons as well, is that you'd almost just try and picture a couple where, imagine if you had a wall kind of on the outside of your, or the inside of your left leg, you'd want to try and feel as if you're almost slowing the handle to a degree and one arm only, allowing that head to brush past. Because at some point, the handle has to slow for the head to kick. From a course perspective, it can be very, very similar to the putting question. So if you're pushing it, you can't release it. If grip and wrist angle aren't matched up, for example, Matt Fitzpatrick, very strong gripper, very cupped in wrist angle. Then you go opposite end of the spectrum, Jordan Spieth, Colin Morikawa, weak grippers, bowed lead wrists. If you are, let's say, for example, on the strong grip and flat to bowed left wrist, you'll get the face so shut, you'll just have to drive it across to offer the face more square. So that could be a bit of a deeper cause. But if you're just looking for a drill, just literally get it in your lead hand and just try to get that sensation of the handle slowing so the head swings past. And then as you get into a swing, you're trying to get the same almost sensation. Like I was practicing bunker play the other day and hitting like 50-yard bunker shots. And I'd almost feel as if on the way through that I'm almost like throwing the club towards target, if that makes sense. Like I'm just kind of letting all the energy go versus drive the handle, drive the low point too deep. And exactly. Just keeps like a spade digging into the sand. So anything where you potentially take one hand off and feel the head kind of unload and the energy unload is a really good one. So one arm only drills are great.
What was the lead question? And then I could.
The question was, so I don't know the code to the iPad. The question was, he feels like he's pulling the grip more and not swinging the head.
Swing the grip, not feeling the club and lose.
Not feeling the club head.
Yeah, I think it can be that it's just a pull on the handle and grip pressure's too tight. I think releasing grip pressure.
Yeah.
So actually, that allows you to swing the head.
Yeah.
There's something we see quite a bit. If you're tight, holding on tight, and then pulling on the handle, all that happens is it does that with the face. And opens it up. So
this is what I got a 7-iron, but this is what I was doing with those bunker shots. I was almost like going back and then almost like throwing the club head away, just to get the sensation of that head, like, and the energy just dissipating in a way versus just driving it forever. Yeah. And it's it's an interesting feel. Interesting feel. Anyway, you were going to say some stuff.
I have Axiom 105, MMT 105 for proper beat. So I think it's describing the feels, I think, if I remember rightly. Differences between the two. So obviously both 105 grams, both multi-material. So the Axiom has the Ventus, the Velocore material in, reduces ovaling, very stable. Balance point kind of down the bottom half. So with this one, ultimately, it's a very tight, crisp feel through the ball. At 105 grams, it's not overly heavy and hard work, but it gives the stability of even in the stiff, which this one is, it's kind of, when you go into the composites, there's so much more material in the walls, it gives the stability of, say, an X-Flex in a steel shaft because there's just more to work with. So it's a crisp type feel and definitely feel club head on the bottom and bottom half of the club. Still get a little bit through the shaft, still get a bit of help from it, but I like a kind of a low torque wood shaft feel at impact. Now going to MMT, metal mesh technology. So there's a steel mesh or still a metal mesh in the through the body of the shaft. These, generally speaking, have always swung very, very tip heavy. Almost the most exaggerated of any of the composite shafts out there. So it tends to really exaggerate the weight down the bottom. So If you're someone who's going to acquire to hand action, then both of these tend to require a little bit of a hit, but this, much more so. So with this one, definitely, it's probably not quite as crisp through impact, but I definitely have more. There's more proportional weight in the bottom end, so it creates for me a little bit more of a drop. I've got to fetch it a bit more, which has then seen that go a little bit left. So effort required to swing slightly more on this because I've got to work the bottom end a touch more. So in theory, you might say if you struggle with a bit of a miss left, then this means you've got a bit more to hit against. Doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to hit a left, but if you're someone who likes to have a heavy club head to hit against, then the MMT just gives you a bit more to fetch against. I'd probably say not quite as crisp a feel, but requires a bit more effort to get it through I was going to call it the Ventus, the Axiom. Little less heavy feeling, but very, very tight and crisp through impact. And neither are cheap. There you go.
Neither are cheap.
Neither are cheap, yeah. Sicko Golf, that's a good old name. Hey to you both, would love to get a fitter's explanation on the differences in profiles between the Modus 120S X and 125S. Thanks. So, easy ones between the 120S and 120X. They are nigh on identical. So the Modus 120 is designed around very stable tip for dispersion control and a softer grip end to the butt section to give some feel. So the 120S is a 114 gram, the 120X is a 118, 119 gram. So it's a 4 or 5 gram weight change. That means there's just a bit more structural stoutness there, but the profile is the same. The Modus 125s are actually more like 130. They're a little bit more stout through the midsection, but not so harsh in the tip. So essentially a little less tip heavy balance-wise within the frame of the shaft, but a little more stiff through the kind of the mid-upper section, so stand up to a bit more load. So there we go.
Excellent.
So essentially, if you kind of pull hard on the handle and work the middle of the shaft more, the 125s might feel like they hold on a bit more, the grip end being softer in the 120s might feel a little bit loose, but then the bottom end's stable in the 120s. So, Shako, have you been able to hit the US Team Mamiya Power Core line? How do they compare to Ventus lineup? We haven't yet. They are here. I've been away, and then there's been absolutely 10 to the dozen going in the workshop. So there's a load of demos being built up in the coming weeks. And we'll be adding those onto the line. I'll be giving them a proper hit very, very soon, but not quite yet. Sweating Merlot. Hey guys, hope you're well.
Names
This is a good one, yeah. What's the best drill to improve angle of attack for driver, please?
Ooh. That's a good one, a good one. The best thing to do to help angle of attack with irons or driver is you get these squatting wedges. They're like a black wedge where if you're struggling with squats and you've got bad ankle mobility.
I'm with you now.
Yeah, you basically you slide them under your
Rogue.
feet. There is a golfing version called the strike wedge. It's orange, but like all golf training aids, it's like needlessly expensive. If you go online and type in squatting wedge, you'll see a set of 3 black ones.
Make sure you type it correctly. You might get something you're not intending.
Maybe. But if you put one of those in front of the golf ball for a driver, it can just give you this kind of visual sometimes of the club wanting to sweep up. Did you ask about technique? What was the question again?
What's the best drill to improve angle?
Yeah, okay.
And by improve, I think we're probably assuming from hitting down too much. Yeah. You can hit up too much as well.
Correct. So. Yeah, correct. That'd be the best thing to do. Just giving yourself something to avoid, on the opposite side.
Yeah.
If your body positions are suboptimal, like the amount of people that come for a driver lesson and they're up the top like this and then turning down on it like that, you can have something in front of the golf ball for as long as you like, but it's not really going to teach you to get in tilt, if that makes sense. So it's a good thing to help with the visual, but just check the technique is in a sound spot, otherwise you'll end up you're up here at the top, then having to lean back to try and avoid the thing, and it can get a bit messy. So,
do you find if you have the club off the ground, that can help encourage a better movement around your spine? Because I think what happens when the club's down, we see a lot of people going that way with the driver, whereas actually if it's up here, you're not going to go like that.
Exactly.
And actually making a kind of a move, kind of using your spine as a frame.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing?
No,
or is that
definitely. I think one thing I've really noticed is that I think a lot of people are struggling to strike it consistently. So they assume that they've got to be really steep in body angles to achieve downstrike. But, you know, you can swing on a 55-degree plane and still hit 5 down.
Yeah.
So quite a shallow arc and still have downstrike if the bottom of the swing is sufficiently in front of the golf ball or ahead of the golf ball. So, I definitely think people are too worried about hitting down, and that naturally tends to bleed across to the driver. But certainly, imagining a ball is knee high in a way does exactly the same thing. Practicing with a ball above the feet lie is great if you're not great with driver. Just going to the chipping green and hit like a 30-yard pitch shot with the club, you know, as Simon said, nice and high to get that sensation of shallowing the arc out, and hopefully when you use a driver which is 45 inches or whatever it might be, you deliver the same feel.
Sibby Rogan, favourite sandwich sampled at Augusta?
Good question.
So, the ice cream one was epic. The Georgia peach ice cream. So maybe if I'm being ultra critical, slightly more biscuit proportion to ice cream than ideally I'd have had. But I willingly had at least one a day. And they ran out on the Sunday because it was that hot.
Wow.
Sacrilege.
Did you have the pimento cheese?
I did, yes. It's all right. It's a spicy cheese sandwich. It's all right. I think the best two for me were the pulled pork barbecue was good, but you got heartburn after eating it. It's sort of, indigestion. But it was enjoyable at the time. But the breakfast one and the club were the two best ones for me.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Very good. Blueberry muffin also very good. Yeah. There we go. That was non-committal in answering basically everything I had.
All of the above.
Yeah. Richard Skinner. Hi, Simon. Would it be a bad idea to purchase a Lab DF3 on eBay? Do you need to be fitted for these putters? You should be fitted for them because the whole principle is that you're fitted around your lie. So it's torque balanced around the lie of the putter. And if that's not right for you, then chances are it'll get you in a funky setup position and will throw the face control off. So in principle, you could have a scenario where you dismiss it because it hasn't worked based on the setup being wrong for you. The correct answer is, do you need to be fitted for them? Yes. The other answer is it'll be a lot cheaper on eBay. So to see whether it's something you might like or not, depending on the price you can get for it, then there is that side to it. But if you wanted to give it a proper go, then and are really seriously thinking about giving a test out, then get a fitting for it, because then you'll get the one that makes the most sense for you. There are so many visual alignments and things that actually that's a big factor in it as well. So. Sculpture 2. Daughter currently plays a GLE 3 driver, 11 degree. Is there much weight difference with the ladies' DS Adapt Max K? So the GLE 3 will be a little bit lighter. The ladies' Max K is basically the same head as the men's Max K with just a slightly lighter weight in the back of it. So the GLE 3 frame weight is going to be a little bit lighter, but you have the adjustability on the Max K. So in terms of the weighting and the amount that goes into it, whereas the GLEs tend to be fixed. It's not a huge difference, but you've got a bit more versatility from an adjustment point of view with the Cobra head. Martin D 8007. Project XLZ 5.5 iron shafts and feel disconnected. I'm hitting both KBS Tour 120 and Dynamic Gold 120 S300 well when testing. Interesting. How are they different? Is there any other similar I should try before changing? So the KBS Tour and the Dynamic Gold 120s are quite different in terms of where the weight sits. So they're the same dead weight, but the KBS Tour is sort of mid balance, but the Dynamic Gold 120 is right down the bottom end. So what that says to me on the 5.5s are a 115 gram is that the slightly heavier weight works. But if both the KBS and the True Tempers are working, then that says just the weight's better, but you should have more consistency and control with one or other. So from a dispersion point of view, one should certainly stand out as being naturally a little bit cleaner through impact and striking and controlling the flight and the shot shape, because they swing pretty differently. It depends which one of those does that as to whether there are any other options that are worth testing. So I'm going to say yeah, potentially follow up with, or send us a message. Which one works better, and maybe even if it's after this, I can message back and tell you what other options to test out. But they are pretty different beasts, those two. So
that's what I had in my old set, didn't I? Did I have S300 to KBS tool? Pretty sure.
Were you the X's? I thought you were 130 X's.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah. But the KBS felt very, very different.
Tony Bythway, hi Simon. Did you buy much in the merch shop, and what was your favourite item from the concessions menu? So favourite item was the ice cream. The beer was quite good as well, but the ice cream was best. I didn't buy an awful lot. I don't want to be that guy wearing the logo everywhere. That's not me. So I got a polo shirt, green polo shirt, obviously. Got a hoodie for mooching around at home. The coffee cups were epic. They're kind of big. I got a green and a yellow one. They were very good, with the Augusta logo on, and a towel. That was about it for me, actually. Did I get a gnome? No.
You know what? No. This year was actually the first year I'd actually learned about the whole gnome thing.
That's ridiculous.
Has that been going on for
years? Limited my arse. Every day there were hundreds of people coming out with gnomes, the big ones. I'm sure they were limited, Augusta. But
steady on, Simon, steady on.
But so the queue at the start of the day for these sodding gnomes was like an hour and a half long to get in the shop. So we took the view that we were, very fortunate to be there all 4 days. So just at the end of the day, when there was no queue, just walk straight in.
Yeah.
They sold small gnomes as well, which aren't so limited. But
why gnomes?
It's something that they started a few years back, and now if you've got a couple, you just collect them. This one had an umbrella that you could have closed and kind of against the floor, or up and open.
Right. Yeah. Whatever floats your boat, I guess.
But the queues were massive for the shop at the start of the day.
Yeah, I bet.
So what's the point? Just go in when it's empty. Yeah. There was an awful lot of other stuff you could buy. Very reasonably priced. Didn't take the mick with pricing at all. So
I guess they're going to go purely off volume, aren't they, really, if they're going to sell so much of these things?
Yeah. It's like with the food, actually. The food was brilliantly priced. So, yeah. Very slick operation, though. They get you in, through and out very, very quickly.
Quick.
Yeah. No, very impressive. So, so not too much, but enough just to feel suitably smug.
Nice.
Nick KSO, hey Sam, what's the relevance of shaft length when fitting an iron set based on a 6 iron? If a stand length is too long, short, wouldn't that club length be found in the surrounding irons anyway? So the answer is, there's a coaching element as well, is posturally around that kind of 6 iron, 7 iron point of view. You want someone to be in a nice balanced, neutral posture, because you know you're going to go longer and shorter. Not a lot longer if some players stop at 5 iron or 6 iron, but you've got to be able to be in a posture that allows you to put speed in and stay balanced. Shorter irons are always going to kind of sit down a little bit closer, but you're generally trying to get a nice angle between the shaft almost sort of into your waistline, so that there's a natural plane that occurs as well. Now you've got to take into account injuries, got to take into account a little bit of ball striking ability, technique. So there's a half an inch or so of window that you could fit between for any one player, depending on their physical elements and their technique and their ability. So if you've got a bad back, the last thing you want is short iron, so you've got to sit into it. So there are a few things that go into it, but ultimately, you want, in the middle of the set, you're looking for a really nice balanced posture that can just flow a little bit either side, that allows someone to move freely and stay in posture comfortably, I would say.
Very good. Very good. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Because that way technique can be as neutral as possible as well. So, Sam Dobson 201, I've been playing golf for almost a year now and was wondering if it's ever worth getting a fitting this early into the journey, especially if I've still got a myriad of swing faults. Cheers.
This is a question I get all the time up there.
Yeah.
And it's a chicken or the egg type thing,
it's a bit
isn't it,
chicken,
really?
yeah.
There's no real right answer to this. Like, I remember when you guys have fit me for my clubs and I'll hit a bad shot and I'll immediately go, that was a bad swing, I did this, it went left. Versus like when I did my irons with Matt a little while ago, he was like, wrong club, and I remember you doing it the first time I came here as well.
Yeah.
You almost took the club straight out of my hands again. So it's difficult, isn't it? There's no real...
I think ultimately there are sort of two scenarios. One is that, if you're really new and you're bedding some form of action in, then to fit with, you need some form of repeatable functional action to really then start to get a real kind of kick forward of results from. So there is a point where once you start to be able to strike the ball, not like trying to rip it out the middle every time, but to get decent, reasonable contact fairly regularly, that's when you can start to benefit from a fitting. The flip is that if your clubs are horribly set up for you, then getting to that point is actually quite hard. Yeah. So to your point, there are lots of shades of grey in this. Yeah. There's no absolute right, once you get to this level of golf, you must get fitted, because actually you might need to get fitted really early because what you have in your hands might be absolutely cack and hurt your progression quite badly. And then the game's just not fun. So probably the answer is that once you feel comfortable that you've got some form of, and when I say repeatability, it doesn't have to be the same shot shape every single time, but solid ability to strike a golf ball fairly repetitively, then a fitting can determine whether there's anything tangible that can be done with your clubs, or whether actually, stick with them for a bit and then come back in a year's time or whatever. Yeah. But the fitting will be the bit that determines whether, assuming you go somewhere that's reputable, that can determine whether what you have you can work with and improve into a little bit, or whether actually it's just horrible and then a change will make a massive difference. But you would see that within the session. Yeah. But I think the fitting's the bit that answers the question of, is there something that can make a tangible difference? And say ultimately it rests in the hands of the fitters to be honest enough to be really straight with you about what you need to do and what you don't at that point.
I think you're also right in the sense of maybe not just from a ball striking point of view, but if you might have only played for a year, but if you've got down to 16 in a year, that could possibly happen. But I guess if the person feels comfortable with their game and everything's relative, 16 handicap is going to strike it one way and have a certain miss. But if you can go in saying, right, Simon, Matt, Jack, I hit this as my one primary bad shot. I hit a big slice off to the right. Most of the time, I'll strike it okay. I might fat the odd shot. I guess you'd want to go in knowing that you've got a certain amount of variables in there, rather than just, Jack going, so what's the bad shot? And you're going, up, down, left, right, bad strikes. I guess you've got to feel quite confident in your own game to go, I feel like there's something consistent there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the challenges I would take a young lady from Fox Hills who came in who just couldn't get the driver away, but the driver was heavy and hard work, so making a change quite early in her golfing journey actually then paid big dividends because she could get off the tee. Yeah. But in the scenario you've just gone, she's like, well, yeah, some go right, some go left, some I top, then I hit the other one really well. So it is a difficult one because there isn't this sort of, as you say, there isn't this marker that, once you get to X point, now is the right time. Yeah. They say the clubs could be literally kind of pulling you back and hampering your improvement, or it might just be, okay, give it a bit more time, you're fine with them. So I would say, a good fitter will be able to give you good, honest advice about that. I think if you feel like you're struggling to keep improving with the lessons, that's probably quite a good point to go, let's check the clubs out. If you're seeing a good level of improvement and consistent improvement, then maybe kind of go, okay, well, maybe stick with the lessons and the technique work, and then, and then do the clubs. I would say that's probably, because if you're in a year in, you should still see quite solid improvement. Yeah.
Difficult question.
So lots of answers there, I'm afraid. Great question. That one. Great question. Shaco79, what is the swing speed sweet spot for a Ventus White 4S? Answer is, it's not just about club speed. So the Ventus White is their lightest weight. It's a 49 gram, but still got the Velocore material. It's a stable 49 gram shaft. I've seen players at 75 miles an hour using it. I've seen players at 87 miles an hour using it. So it's more about, does that weight suit you? And actually balance-wise has a little bit in the tip end. There are plenty of players that at a certain swing speed, that shaft would never suit because the dynamics are wrong. So you'd think being lighter that it would suit a slightly slower club speed, but actually it's not necessarily that way. So I would encourage you, don't ever look at a shaft based on swing speed. Look at it based on how do you move, and does that weight complement, does it move with you and allow you to control the club face? That's what makes the shaft work well, and then it's a bit of a feel thing. So at a 49 gram shaft, it's nice and stout. But yeah, I wouldn't look at it as a swing speed window. More, what weight do you need? Which is hard to determine unless you've got options to test out. But ultimately, yeah, that's the best way. Tony, by the way, and what effect would a 1/2 inch or 1 inch tipping make to a Ventus fairway shaft? And so if it's one of the stock ones, which hasn't got Velocore in, it'll stiffen it up. So shortening the tip section, which is the parallel section, you're lessening the amount of parallel shaft and therefore the less movement, so it firms it up. And for every 1/2 inch, it's, now I'll defer to James for this. Would you say in terms of CPM, 1/2 inch, roughly speaking, tip trimming? Oh, so yeah, so changes depending on the weight. So as you go up in weight, the change is more?
Yeah, I would say for every inch, a 70-gram shaft for every inch, about 7 CPM.
So depending if you could hear it or not, for a 70-gram shaft, for every inch, it's roughly 7 CPM.
And 6, 5, 4.
And then, okay, and if you go in weight, it's sort of 654. It's a good approximation. If you've got a proper Ventus, you will soften it by tipping it because you're taking out the Velocore material. So something that Cool Clubs have done testing with, and they've got the S3 data to prove that it softens the shaft by tipping it. So actually, if you're trying to soften it to get more kick out of a fairway wood, then yes, take it a 1/2 inch or an inch and you'll get a little bit more kick out the tip section. Kevin Phillips, if you're looking 5 mile an hour ball speed in between irons, is there a general rule for wood gaps? Thanks. I would say it's not dissimilar. It depends on the spin, launch and spin dynamics. So there are multiple things that go into it with woods. With irons, because there's a gradual progression of a few hundred revs of spin, a couple of degrees in launch angle, couple of miles an hour in club speed from the 1/2 inch intervals. That's where the 5 mile an hour progression in irons comes in to give you kind of roughly a good 10 yards gap. In woods, I mean, between my driver and fairway, I've probably got 6 or 7 miles an hour ball speed. 6, 7 miles an hour ball speed. Sorry for all the youngsters out there.
You had to
Apologies
do
for
that. You had to do that.
Ball speed, but then there's about 1,000 revs of spin difference. So there's a more amplified distance, but then I've got 30-yard gap. So it's not just about ball speed, but you certainly want a minimum of 5. You still want a minimum of 5 mile an hour gain to make it worthwhile to have at least a 10 to 15-yard distance gap between them. But there are more launch and spin variables that go into creating those distance gaps as well. So it's not quite as simple as just ball speed. Let's see if I can find one. There you go. I'm going to do one with Lewis. Alistair Mack, evening gents. Hope you're doing well. Lewis, do you have any preference on the setup of the trail arm? Where should the elbow be pointing at address? And should the trail arm sit below the lead arm?
Good question. I definitely don't like a trail arm too straight and too internal, which can be linked to the quality of the grip at the same time. And again, everybody grips it differently, but I wouldn't like to see a trail hand gripping it from too far underneath, because that can make this trail arm get way too external or supinated. So I guess, there you go, fancy. It's probably the wrong way around, but that's the word.
It sounded good.
I think I wouldn't put in exact degrees on it, but I would get the right arm into a spot where you feel as if it can fold fairly easily. If it's too kind of bolt straight like this, then you'll just take it back like that and the elbow gets stuck too far behind you at the top. So I guess just getting it to a point where you feel as if that would be almost my setup for the elbow. So my lead arm is slightly above my trail arm, and this trail arm just feels as if it can almost pinch to that hip in the takeaway, versus if it's too internal and too on top, it will just feel as if it stays on top forever. Very, very difficult to get the elbow in the right spot at the top. So as long as it's not too straight and too internal, just the spot that feels like it's comfortable for you to fold.
Very nice.
Yeah. We're all different, aren't we? We're all different.
Yeah, and they've all got different. I've got very strong forearm rotation.
Your arms are like this, aren't they?
Yeah. Backward-facing palms, and then others are almost 90-degree different.
Yeah.
So it will create different kind of angles and lines and positions. Yeah. Special.
You are very special. That's
Martin D 8007. I've experimented a lot with driver shafts. I do best with an unusual combo: Tensei white, 68 grams, stiff, 44.5 inch at swing weight C8. Does the low swing weight indicate technique issues? If so, what? Absolutely not. It doesn't necessitate. It just means you don't need a heavy club head. So someone that kind of swings hard and kind of hits against the head hard and kind of has a strong release pattern, and a kick with the hands tends to need a heavier club head. But actually, at 44.5 inches, C8 swing weight is an absolute measure. So at 44.5, C8 will feel differently than C8 at 45 inches. So if you just take that 44.5 inch shaft and put ½ inch on, go back to 45, then C8 becomes basically D1. So it's not absolute in terms of how it changes, but it's not as light as it sounds. So it's probably the equivalent of D0.5 at a 45 inch length. So it's not that light, but you know what, heck, if it works and you find strike consistently and you've got face control, then it's right for you. So it just indicates that you don't need a heavy head. So, I play a driver at D3.3. Lewis might play a driver at D1. It doesn't mean that we have right or wrong techniques. It just means that swing weight suits. So essentially, swing weight is the resultant static balance of the right shaft and length and head and weight of head that suits your timing. And that's what gives you that number. You wouldn't go searching for a particular swing weight. If it's exaggerated one way or other, you might question it and just test against it. But you know what, if it works, that's not overly light at 44.5 inches, so don't worry about it. There's nothing necessarily to concern about from a technique standpoint. L. Bieniek 11, is the Ventus charcoal different than the previous stock Ventus, like in the TM models? What Acra shaft did you recommend again? TZ Red something. So it's the Tour Z Red fairways, do a 75 gram. That would be a good alternative option. That's the equivalent to the TZ5, the old silver one from last year. That's the updated model. Is the Ventus charcoal any different than the Ventus from last year? The honest answer is I don't know. Chances are not very. I would put a lot of money on it being a paint job difference. Now, I'm not saying that as saying that's fact. It's highly likely, though. They're not going to spend a load of money changing that stock shaft. They're just going to update the paint job to make it look like another model. They did that with the previous Ventus shafts, where it was black and red for Stealth version 1, and it was black and blue for Stealth 2. Just match the colour scheme of the club. So they're not going to spend lots of money changing the shaft for a stock option. If it's good enough one year, it'll be good enough the next year. Ping have done that for a long time, where they haven't really updated the structure, but they've just updated the graphics to match the colour scheme of the particular model. I don't think we should confuse them for wanting to spend money on shafts if they can help it. Call me a cynic. I am a cynic. Ivan R321, hello gents, looking to reshaft my 14 TC 910s. Want a similar graphite shaft to the Mitsubishi MMT 125 TXs. Ooh, any suggestions on MMT alternatives? At that kind of weight, that's where the Axiom 125s would be your alternative to that. There is a 125 steel fibre. The steel fibre could probably be a little bit dead. The Axiom is not exactly responsive, but for that kind of weight of graphite shafts and stability, the Axioms would be the natural alternative. It's a similar kind of balance. Maybe not quite as tip heavy as the MMTs, but that would be the alternative that I would be looking at for sure. Now I've got a couple of minutes left, so I'll fire through these last few questions. Adirel 90, hey gents, could a modern driver be optimized for hitting both fades and draws off the tee, and what setup, stance, ball position would allow for similar clubhead delivery with different shape outcomes? Could it be optimized for hitting both fades and draws? No. You optimize it for your stock pattern, but you want the spin in a window where it facilitates the other shot shape. So, ultimately, if you hit a fade, you don't want the spin to be too low, because if you then hit a draw, there's nothing on it and it knuckles. Equally speaking, if you hit a draw, you don't want the spin to be too high, because if you then hit a fade, it spins up and goes nowhere. So you're always trying to take that into account, but you can't optimize it for both. You can find a middle ground that might suit both, but as regard to sort of setup and stance and ball positions and things, you're talking elite level performance for this. Yeah, you're really high end performance.
Off the tee, it's just one shape. I think DJ did an interview with Claude Harmon years ago, and Claude was kind of pushing him like, when would you hit a draw? And he asked the question like a few times, and DJ was just like, there's going to be a pretty good reason for me to try and hit a draw. Yeah. If not, it's just a cut every single time. Because you just want to be in the game. Whereas if you try and shape it both ways with a driver, it's tough. That's tough to do consistently.
Yeah.
And you just end up flaring it on other fairways. Not always the best.
I think anyone talking about shaping a driver to suit the shot is basically a tour pro.
Yeah.
Or a scratch golfer. Or
Yeah.
anyone who should even be thinking about it. I think for me, golfers complicate things way too much.
Yeah.
If you have a controllable, you don't want a 30-yard fade or draw, but if you have a kind of a controllable half a fairway's width fade or draw, you can play that on 90% of golf holes without any issue whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then if you have to hit the other shot shape, if you have to, then if you have the ability to, great. But I think
you would. I always seem to be able to do both. You have to have like your kind of path, like fairly neutral, just a touch into out. But then to have a stock shot, you do tend to see a path of 2 or 3 degrees. Then to shift 2 or 3, 5 degrees left, so you're 2 degrees out to in. Yeah. It's a big shift. It's a big shift to do like that immediately on the golf course with a scorecard in your hand. So wouldn't recommend it usually, personally.
It's fun to do if you can, but I think only do it when you have to. Yeah. And the simplest way is do it with setup. Set your stance on the line. You don't change your swing line, but move the face towards the shot shape you're trying to hit and put your normal swing on, and let that do it rather than changing shape. Would be, I think you can probably tell our advice on that is to simplify as much as possible. Right, last few. David OH7, great to have you back, Simon. Thank you very much. What do you think is the highest peak height iron that has only a moderately wide sole? Okay, so it's going to be the T250 Star. That one, it's not overly wide sole, it's a T250 shape, but it's bringing the lofts right back. They are a lighter head, but those are 100% going to give the highest peak height. Alternatively, the Ping I240s, very good for that as well, as something a little bit neater. The first cut, how do you know if you need lower high bounce wedges? Was hitting a few 56-degree full shots, and angle of attack was usually around -5 average. That's not too much for a wedge. The steepest was -6. Vokey M grind felt nice. Ultimately, it's not just about angle of attack. It depends how much shaft lean you have and what kind of turf you play off. So at 5 or 6 angle of attack, that's really quite moderate. That's not overly steep. So you don't, based on that, unless you have a strong shaft lean, you wouldn't need an awful lot of bounce. Something like the M grind on a higher loft wedge gives you versatility to open it up and kind of slide the club underneath. Again, if you're 5 or 6, you're not that steep. I can get to 8 or 9 degrees if I'm kind of trying to squeeze one in there. So, kind of 6 to 8 would be pretty neutral and be like an S grind shape. If you're getting up to 8+, then the D grinds, if we're looking at Vokeys, are going to be more helpful. But 5 or 6, that M grind, your kind of moderate, mid to lower mid would be where I would sit you for that angle of attack. Right, Jasper L578, does Lewis have any drills for helping with a swing that lays off late?
Lays off late? Fair play. There's 2, because often it can be if it lays off late, the club can be a bit too far outside the line to begin with. So it kind of goes outside and then you lay it off this way. So it can be a hand path problem or simply a kind of pressure point on the grip problem. One of the simplest things you can do is literally just to use a drill stick and kind of place it, half above the grip, half below the grip. You've got a drill stick. Yeah, perfect. So this would effectively be like your pointer, your guider. There was something where you could place a thing on the end of the grip, which almost come out with a laser, which I thought was always pretty useful. That was always good because if you're going too far outside the line first, it is quite common from there to get arm lift and lay it off. So we naturally see the drill stick point too far outside the ball line. So it's really a case of trying to keep the hands feeling a little bit more inside. That would mean you'd be much more capable at about the halfway point to keep the drill stick pointing within the ball line, and then you're really trying to maintain that as you go back. But it's usually the hands moving too far away, which cause this kind of like arm lift shaft laying off, whereas if you keep the hands feeling a little bit more in and just have this there as a guider, you should find that it stays steeper for longer and stays right at the top. It's always a good fix. Nice.
Right, last couple. Thank you again for all the questions. It's great to be back on and have all the interaction again. It's not going to be nice having a couple of weeks off, but it's very nice to get back into it. So thank you for coming on this evening. Michael Burns 263. What's the best drill in your view for increasing clubhead speed?
I'm always in two minds on clubhead speed. I'm always in two minds. Because I tell you what, when people often come in and they ask me about fixing swing speed, their numbers, their launch numbers are so far away from optimal. And I think you've got to be really careful. Like, for example, if you're delivering a bunch of reverse shaft lean, hitting it low on the face, spinning it a lot, launching it really high, hitting it harder might not be the fix, but actually you might be able to not try and fix swing speed at all, fix your launch angle, fix your strike, and then you'll get, like, I had a guy last week who gained almost like 20 yards carry, but we didn't do any speed at all. But he was delivering it way back here, so all the speed's gone, strike's not great, loads of loft. So that's why I'm always cautious to say about swing speed drills, because, you know, speed sticks are great, but my worry with speed sticks is if you just go away and you're at home in the garden, swinging away like you wouldn't believe, whilst not doing it with good sound technique, then really you're just making the whole golf swing more volatile. It's pretty rare that I would get people to work on speed upstairs, unless, you know, you get someone who's 75, 80 or whatever, and they do struggle to hit it hard enough. That's when I do it. But drill sticks are very, very good because you can swing in the same way, but swing a heavier object. So when you hold your golf club again, it feels much lighter. But I wouldn't necessarily go down the route of just swing it as hard as you can. I would use it, develop your own pattern, and do it in good sequencing would be my advice. But first, I would check if your launch angles and spin rates are optimal. Because that's an easy win.
Completely agree with that. I would say technique first, because if you've got bad technique, you will hurt yourself and you'll hit it all over the show. But if you have good technique, I've been doing a little bit of this. I've done no speed work or no strength work or anything for years. I'm doing back in the gym a little bit, but I've done a few practice sessions where at the end of the session, I've hit 20 drivers, 15, 20 minutes worth of drivers as hard as I can. I like to hit balls with it. I'm actually talking to Eddie Fernandez, who's the senior long drive champion. He advocates hitting balls hard because you keep strike and face control. You still, like, you wouldn't practice kicking a ball as far as possible with no ball, you'd put your back out.
Yeah, so true.
So
true.
But if your technique's good, then you can gain from speed and gaining speed. If your technique's good, at the end of a practice session, clatter it for 15, 20 shots. You've got a full pelt. Almost don't worry too much where it goes. You're still trying to gain strike, but that raises your baseline, and I've probably picked up 5 to 10 yards within 2 sessions doing that. So, but good technique first. And then pay no swings. One, it's great to have you back, Simon. Thank you very much indeed. It's lovely to be back. What are the most blady irons that we have and sell? Well, there are going to be a number of them. A blade is a blade. So we've got Miura MB 101s, Titleist MBs, Mizuno S1s. There's Epon do their sort of Tour MB, Itabori MB. Let's think, what other brands are Cobra, the MB. I mean, any classic straight blade. That blade is a blade. There's no tungsten, as long as there's no tungsten stuck in a toe or a heel or somewhere, and it's just a single piece forging, they will all sting your fingers if you thin one in the winter. So, and they'll all feel lovely when you catch one out the middle. But any one of those, we've got plenty of them. And so if you'd like to make the game as hard as possible, but get as much feedback as possible and be a masochist like me and play blades through 6-iron, we've got plenty of them. Final thing, I must mention, a massive congratulations to Kate Davey, our PT, James's wife Kate, who had a major knee surgery last year and has her first race back in Rotterdam, pro race back. Not only won her age group by 6 minutes, but was the fastest lady of the whole event. So super proud of Kate. She's gone through a huge amount of rehab and hard work, and we see it day in, day out. And actually, sometimes it becomes a bit normalised seeing how hard she works. Makes us all think we're doing hard work as well. But I couldn't be more proud of her. It's such a huge achievement just to come back from that injury, but to come back and to perform so well. Kate, we salute you. So very well done. And that is that for today. So thank you very much. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
Again.
Thanks for having me.
It's been great to come back, have all the questions and get that interaction. We really appreciate it. So thank you so much for coming on. Tell your friends about it. Get them to check us out next time for any questions over you wish. And we look forward to seeing you next Monday. Have some great golfing in the weather out here. And we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.